When I share my story, it's about more than building an inspirational space for artists. I represent the creative spirit of the nation, the Choctaw Nation.
I am our past.
I am our present.
I am our future.
I am all of us. When we share, we become one.
Because our stories make us more.
Stories keep our culture alive.
See them and share them at togetherwe'remore.com.
Hollywood! Lights, camera, action! Hollywood Brown. CD Lamb still running. Into corner. CD for the TD.
People don't know what it is to be champions. Oklahoma invented it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Through the Keyhole. It's an Oklahoma football podcast. Hey, go check out keyholepod.com. It's the free one because Alan Kinney wrote something about John Mateer. You ever heard of him? In the words of my, this is probably a good policy to have because we're all excited about John Mateer as OU fans, but there's still a few questions that need to be answered. And whether or not OU is truly good this year or kind of good or basically kind of the same team with a slightly better offense will depend heavily upon how John Mateer translates from wherever he came from to the SEC. And so this is the policy that I'm adopting from my fiance, who said, I'm going to call him John Mater because she constantly refers to him as John Mater. And then she was like, well, if he's actually good, I'll learn his name. It's like, okay, yeah. So he's going to be John Mater until, what do you guys think? After the Michigan game, should we have a good idea, or is that just like one? That's the point. Is he's awesome, maybe in a one game situation, but the SEC grind. Like, when is it going to be okay to truly feel like John Mateer is the guy? As I don't introduce any of you yet, but so someone blurt out the answer.
I think it's the game that you judge every single Oklahoma player against, and that's down in Dallas against Texas.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Temple.
No.
That was the disembodied voice of one Peyton Guthrie, and I say disembodied because he is just a picture. He is not a video because his internet connection is. Peyton, it looks like you guys are going to get hit by the storm that kept me on the road for about an hour when I got off work earlier today. Is Durant going to be okay?
Well, let me see here. I'm one of the few Oklahomans that never check the weather for any reason whatsoever, because there's other people around me constantly saying, hey, there's going to be a storm tonight. And I'm like, all right, cool. That's how I check everything. But I have no earthly idea if I'm in the path of this.
Yikes. Oh, I just received word, gentlemen, the Pacers have landed in Tulsa. They have landed in Tulsa safely for the NBA Finals against the Tulsa whom?
Used to be the Zone back in the day, or the Fast Breakers. Man, those were Anthony Mason.
Didn't they have were they the 66ers as well? Did they have?
They might have been at one point.
66ers?
Yeah, they might have been.
Yeah, Tulsa. That's Peyton's favorite city, apparently. Right, Peyton. That you said that.
It's very good. It's very good. I enjoy it. And I actually got hit up the other day when somebody said that. When people say Tulsa has better culture in Oklahoma City, they mean like 4 buildings downtown with an Art Deco siding. And it made me laugh. But
they do have a lot of churches.
They do.
As many CVSs as there used to be like 5-6 years ago in Norman, there are that times like 2 churches in Tulsa. So you've also now heard the voice, excuse me, of Alan Kinney. Alan, say something.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And you're the one who wrote the John Mater story, John Mateer. Is that a French word? Mateer. I don't know.
Matier.
Oh, Joe Dierte. That's where we're going. Okay. We'll go check out keyholepod.com. Also, patreon.com/throughthekeyhole. Want to give a special shout out to, I wasn't on last week, so thank you to Garrison for jumping on the first patron interview, which you can find at patreon.com/throughthekeyhole. And all of our patrons are eligible to, if they would like to have their very own OU fan podcast. So we've already had a few reach out, got those kind of loosely scheduled out over the next handful of weeks. And there's plenty of time afterwards for more. So if you would like to join, go to patreon.com/thekeyhole. You don't have to pay any money for the first month. You can try it out. I wrote a Monday post on Tuesday today about the Fighting Patty Gassos, and we'll probably talk about them in just a little bit. But yeah, keyholepod.com or actually keyholepod.com is a different website. That's the free one. Patreon.com/through the keyhole is the one with the extra podcasts and articles and stuff. Matt Burton, you've been kind of a busy bee as of late. I'm going to be honest. I kind of expected you to be a little bit more available at this time. Like I thought the Thunder were obviously awesome, but I mean, getting past Nikola Jokic, I was like, I'm going to have to see that first before I start proclaiming that it will happen. And so, when you're kind of projecting the playoffs, once they're about to begin, I'm like, yeah, Matt will be readily available by, the end of May. And yet here we are in June getting ready for the NBA Finals. And then you had to preside over the death of the Patty Gasso softball Sooners and their dynasty because they had a bunch of freshmen and some transfers that didn't pan out as a lot of transfers have over the last 4 or 5 years for OU, but that's going to happen. Plus $1 million player all that had to coalesce to beat them. So, you've been kind of busy as of late.
Been pretty busy. Did pick up my NBA Finals credential today, so that was kind of a trippy situation. It was kind of awesome though. So picked that up, and then softball. We went to severe weather coverage at around 4:30 today, so we only had like half of a show. But I'm not going to obviously not lumping all OU fans into this category. There are a lot of upset people about the Nyjah candidate being in Texas Tech colors and not OU colors throughout this transfer portal, this past season's transfer portal. She's worth all that money. She's that good. Like that's the reason why Texas Tech did. But I was talking about earlier, guys. She didn't end up at Florida or Florida State or UCLA or
Texas.
Texas. She didn't end up at any of those other powerhouses either. So feels like they were kind of all around in the same ballpark as far as NIL goes. And then Texas Tech was like, boom, here's as much money as we can physically offer you. And it's paid off for them. Their first ever trip to the Women's College World Series, and they're all the way in the Champ Series. So shout out to them. Nyjah candidate, worth it.
Yeah, good for them. To that, I would say, if you've ever seen like a graphic of the global defense budgets of the world, America's bar is like so far and ahead away, and it's more than like Russia's, China's, and India's combined. That's OU's softball budget in comparison to everybody else. Like they spend all like Joe Castiglione as a softball athletic director. Now that's like Nick Saban. Like he has all the resources and has all the money. If OU wanted to, they could have paid for her services.
Exactly.
The recruitment, I remember like, cause Stanford's a private school. And so I had to pull some, I don't want to really say what I did, but I had to like go through something in order to find out, well, what's Nyjah Kennedy's, major at Stanford. Like she's at Stanford, so she's incredibly smart. Oh, that makes a lot of sense why she's going to Texas Tech. So I'm not going to sit here and say that the academics were a gigantic factor in her recruitment, but OU is what it is. The money was probably there. Did Tech pay more? Of course they did. Did they pay more than did they pay to an extent that, oh yeah, OU is just completely and utterly out of it? No, I think academics actually played a part in this because this is not football or basketball. There is no NFL, NBA money waiting for Kennedy after she's done playing softball in college. That's an unfortunate reality for these female athletes, but it's a reality nonetheless. They're going to make all their money that they can basically in college. And she's obviously setting herself up for success with that, but she's also setting herself up for success with her brain. So I remember mentally checking out of that recruitment as a fan, like early on. It's like, okay, academics going to play more of a role. But any other thoughts on softball, gentlemen? Peyton, Alan, I know you're not like the most in tune with it, and that's fine. But 4 championships in a row. It's never been done. There's been, I think, one time, I think UCLA three-peated. There was like a time where UCLA won like 4 out of 5, or even 5 out of 6. I think Arizona won like 4 out of 5, or maybe 3 out of 5. I can't remember, but it was basically UCLA and Arizona for a long stretch of time in the late 80s into the 90s, and then OU won their first one in 2000. I mean, it's pretty big, but and there's not a lot of stuff to talk about. But so I'll give you guys any room if you wanted to talk about softball.
I think you guys hit the nail on the head. You described everything perfectly. I have nothing to add.
Kaboom.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're seeing a modern day dynasty happen. Basically out of nowhere, basically, right? I mean, all their championships are after 2000. So, I mean, it's been a quarter of a century now. Man, it feels strange to say that, but to win this much this fast, obviously it's, I won't say unheard of, because we've seen others do this happen in other sports or something, but, as the sport grows and things of that nature, OU softball, as it continues to grow, I mean, if you look at the recruiting classes and stuff and the potential rumored transfers in, there's going to be a very large chapter about this era, about OU softball when it comes to the sport in general.
And now we have to, I guess, decide between Texas Tech and Texas if you're still plugged in. And look, I mean, the NBA finals don't start until Thursday. I hate this. I mean, Matt, do you like this long delay? Because obviously if the Knicks and Celtics had gone 7, we wouldn't feel like this barren wasteland of no basketball as much. But I fucking hate how you get to the conference finals and it's boom, 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 boom. It's like every other day. It's like, great, I love this pace. And then they get to the finals. Before you get there, there's like 4 or 5 days off. And then you get there and it's like, now every day is going to have 2 days off unless you get to game 6. And it's so stupid. I don't know why the NBA continues to do this.
It's dumb. It's dumb. We are almost a week without Thunder basketball tomorrow. I mean, Wednesday was the last Wednesday was the last time they played game 5. It is, having a little bit of withdrawals, but very excited, man. Very, very excited for this.
I've forgotten their names. No, the last time the Thunder had basically a week off in the postseason, they lost game 1.
Yep.
They blew a 12-point lead in the fourth quarter 3 minutes ago. Aaron Gordon hitting shots.
Their only loss at home this postseason was that.
And if anybody can overcome a deficit in the waning moments of a basketball game, it's going to be Tyrese Haliburton and the Indiana Pacers. So, I mean, real quick, how big does the lead have to be, Matt? In the event that the Thunder are ahead in the fourth quarter, how big does the lead have to be 3 minutes to go for the fans to be having a good time and not be stressing out worth anything? And this is, of course, if Nesmith isn't hitting every single 3 he takes.
Right. Yeah. The dreaded Aaron Nesmith game. I would say like 14, 15. I think you feel fine. I think, I mean, the Thunder showed it in the Minnesota series. That was kind of a close game, but I think they were going to foul up 3. They fouled up 4 against Minnesota, but they did it correctly this time. They didn't foul immediately on the catch. They wasted some time. They did all that stuff. They made their free throws, all that good stuff. I really do think the Denver series was huge for them as far as like just a huge learning experience and getting over the Nikola Jokic of it all. So, man, I don't know. I would say about 14, 15, though, to feel pretty comfortable. But Indiana's kind of made a habit of making some late pushes to win ball games. So, I don't know. Maybe it's not enough.
But now they got to play Western Conference basketball. Oh, boy. Peyton, if I'm a diehard Thunder fan, like if to the same rate that I'm an OU fan, I am at this point. I'm incredibly nervous because I you know how I am as a fan. I just doom and doom and doom until I'm proven incorrect. So if I'm a Thunder fan right now, I'm biting my nails to the bone. Having said that, I'm not really a Thunder fan, and everything I look at, I'm like, dude, this series should be over in 5. So because I believe that, Peyton, and as a noted Thunder hater, I want to give you the floor right now to hate on the Thunder or to warn the Thunder of the incoming storm that is Victor Wembanyama. This is your time now.
Oh, no, Thunder in 4. I think it's going to be 20-point wins bang, 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 line them up, knock them down, and that'll be it. I mean, that's my official prediction for all you Thunder fans out there. Thunder in 4, Thunder in 3 if they could. Probably if they can get the TV stuff lined up. But on a real note, I mean, I guess I'll do a little bit of sports talky and like a radio jockey thing. This is probably the hardest matchup for them. Obviously, was it number 1 offense versus number 1 defense? I believe in the NBA. And beyond that, I think the Pacers are the cringiest team. So I think that they'll be okay with taking shots, and they're not going to get too riled up by any, tough defenses or weird calls or something. They just seem to be able to ignore it because they're too caught up in some other stuff maybe. But I think if this were the Knicks or anybody else, Oklahoma City would just be able to grind them into dust because they would do so much, drama, I guess. And does not seem to be that way with the Pacers. They seem to play as if they're on borrowed time anyway. So maybe that's a part of it, like as a like a puncher's chance type of a thing. But obviously, great coach on their side. If you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, you know that. But it'll be interesting to see how it all works out on that side of it. But I'm pretty sure the Thunder are going to bring one home to Oklahoma. I'm pretty sure on this point in time.
Wait, did you say the Pacers are the cringiest team or the Thunder?
No, Pacers.
Oh, yeah. I've heard the Thunder be accused of being a cringy team because they just do goofy interviews after games.
That's just, they seem to be like kids, which because they are. But I think, I don't know, if you see some of the celebrations and stuff the Pacers do and things like that, I don't know. They seem to have real a lack of like self-awareness, I guess.
Yeah, I mean the choke in the Garden, that was so forced, especially because it wasn't a game winner. It was so, it's like, man,
and it was the most luckiest shot of all time.
I know. Yeah, I mean Halliburton. I mean, Matt, you know this. Halliburton's good on those step backs, but yeah, I mean the fact that it just went straight into the rafters and came down like Sting in '97, like that was silly. I mean, Alan, Thunder in 3. I mean, the way you look at it, do you agree with Peyton's hot take?
Oh, I'm thinking gentleman's sweep of 5 if I had to guess, but I mean, it's rare that you see a playoff series with odds like this, or at least especially in the finals. But I mean, what is it? I think Thunder were something like minus 700, minus 750 or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't. It's been I mean, I as cringy as the Pacers may be, I do enjoy watching them play. It was kind of cool watching that like layup line they had at the end of the game against the Knicks the other night. But no, I just don't see them having the toughness really to handle Oklahoma City's defense for, they'll get a game, but that's it.
OU football. But real quick, I just wanted to say OU football because to remind everybody, this is an OU football podcast, but it's June. The SEC had their little meeting in Destin, and there were words that came out of those meetings. I don't really care for it. I mean, I honestly don't. Maybe I'm bad in that way, and I know a lot of you probably care about it. So we will mention and talk about it and some of the things Brent Venables said. But I guess one more thing on the finals, like to kind of really thrust home why it's so weird to get to a finals and feel like, yeah, one team is vastly better than the other, and this should be a very quick series. But I mean, Matt, you're more of a basketball X's and O's guy than I am. Maybe I'm wrong. It seemed like the now unemployed Tom Thibodeau, like one of his big adjustments was having Mikal Bridges just like guard Halliburton like 70 feet, 50 feet, like in game 6, like that late in the series. And it did give him some trouble until, like Alan said, it just became like, it was like Caruso against the Denver Nuggets zone where they just were like, you're just going to let Caruso stand in the paint by himself. Okay. And then teardrop. And then they stopped running zone. And then it was over from there. Until that happened with Halliburton in the fourth quarter, it seemed like Mikal Bridges getting all up in his grill was giving him some trouble. And oh dear, if that's going to give you trouble, that's what the Thunder do with everybody. They will find you and they will kill you.
Well, the Thunder just did that with Anthony Edwards.
But he made all the right plays.
The last two, he made all the right plays. The last two games 4 and 5. I mean, Dort and Wallace were just picking Anthony Edwards up full court and like, okay, like you're not, we're going to heavy deny you the basketball. And when you get it, there's going to be everyone is going to be here waiting for you to pass the ball. I feel like Tyrese Haliburton is in for that sort of treatment. Like,
I mean, Alan, how?
No, sorry. I was just going to say, yeah, Lou Dort, this is where, I mean, this is where you make your money. This is where you do it. If you stop Haliburton, you got a very, very good chance, man. And then, yeah, we'll see what goes on with Pascal Siakam. He was awesome in the series against the Knicks. So that's the one thing that is kind of worrying me is Pascal Siakam. But I don't know, man. Aaron Nesmith kind of has like a little bit of a, like kind of a nagging ankle injury. I'm not sure that's the guy you want guarding Shea. Anyone with some sort of nagging leg injury. So I truthfully don't know if it's Andrew Nembhard on Shea. That is
yikes.
That's pretty big yikes. We'll see.
Yeah, because stopping like Jalen Brunson physically, like that's one thing. And Jalen Brunson's awesome.
Yeah, Shea's 7 inches taller than Jalen Brunson.
Yeah,
so.
like you're not going to physically stop Shea because, like, yeah, you can body him up, but he's lanky and he's smooth and he can hit off balance shots. He's frustrating. That's why Josh McDaniels lost his mind for 5 seconds and fucking threw him across the floor.
It's like, God damn it.
I mean, Alan, how foolish do we look? Because I think right before the series started, it was just a duo pod with you and me, and we were both like, I think Anthony Edwards is the better player between him and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I would never. That does not sound like me.
Okay. Maybe it was just me. Oh, maybe it was just me then. I'll just say, like, I was very as a basketball fan, I was very disappointed in Anthony Edwards. Knowing full well having Rudy Gobert as your number 3, that's not good. Yeah. It's never a good thing. His front office didn't really do him a solid. They catapult Cat to have him go get Tom Thibodeau fired again.
Yeah.
What a shame. The Hornets need to hire Tom Thibodeau so they can finally be somewhat of a winning franchise.
Are you ready for the new era of sports in Oklahoma? Want to be ready for some real Southern football? Kaizen Performance in Norman, Oklahoma is your spot for physical and mental growth. By empowering a lifestyle of constant, continuous improvement, Kaizen Performance's gym experience lends itself from the experienced training fanatics to those who want to make a positive change in their lives and everyone in between. Come see their new location at 158 Armstrong Court in Norman, Oklahoma. With experienced trainers who understand that every client has individual desires and needs, in-person and online customized training programs and nutrition plans, Kaizen Performance has everything to offer for you to meet your goals. Again, their new location is 158 Armstrong Court, Norman, Oklahoma, 73071. Seriously, Brady works out there, and so does Peyton when he comes to home games. Come work out with us and get ready for the week-to-week grind of real Southern football. Kaizen Performance, Norman's own local gym where your goals are a workout away.
Enough basketball talk. Let's get all up in the footballs, shall we? And Alan, I will just let you kind of introduce your John Mateer conundrum, I believe is what your article was entitled on keyholepod.com. So what exactly is this conundrum that surrounds our hopes and dreams at quarterback in 2025?
Well, essentially, he played a glorified Mountain West schedule last year, and he's making a pretty big step up in competition this season, going from that to the toughest schedule in the country, featuring a pretty steady diet of nasty-ass defenses, including one in the out-of-conference, too, not just an SEC play, but he'll also have Michigan on there. So, I was kind of just trying to contextualize the dilemma. I mean, we're not an analytics podcast or anything like that. We don't make projections on numbers or anything like that, but more just what do we have to think about in terms of, what it looks like for Mateer next season. And, if you feel very confident one way or the other, I mean, God bless you. But I mean, I think there's plenty to chew on there.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the question. Is John Mateer has certainly proved to be a more than capable quarterback and damn near a top tier quarterback in college football. And I think we lose sight, especially I think it's good that we had a Jackson Arnold experience when you're talking about quarterback evaluation, because we've been so fortunate as a fan base that basically every quarterback that we were told was good ended up being really damn good. And the one who wasn't, Spencer Rattler, is an NFL quarterback, so boo-hoo for us. But having Jackson Arnold, a player that we were all told is like the next great thing. He's going to usher in like the next era of OU football under Brent Venables. He's going to continue the quarterback legacy, because look at all these things he did in high school at that level in high school football in the state of Texas. It's just going to work. And of course it didn't. And so comparing that to like John Mateer, it's like, well, what's more important? Having like all the high school metrics or like the 5 stars next to your name coming out of high school, or doing it at the college level against like teams like San Jose State. But then there's Texas Tech on the road. And then there are teams like San Diego State. Hey, but then Boise State, a playoff team's there. And he looks pretty nice on the road and on the Smurf turf against Boise State, Washington as well, Power 4 program, rival school for Washington State. He looked awesome in that game. So, I mean, Peyton, if you've had a chance to read Alan's story, when we're trying to juggle all those thoughts, especially kind of like projecting at this point now, like him against Michigan, like I think good things can happen. Him individually against like some teams in this conference, good things can happen. But it's like you play South Carolina on the road, and then you have to play Ole Miss at home. And then you have to go to Tennessee. Like that grind week to week, that's the big question. Can John Mateer hold up against that level of competition, that talent? If he can, good things can happen for OU. If not, you're praying for some Sooner magic to get you up to like 8-4.
Yeah, Alan's article does bring up a lot of points there, just of the grind of the SEC and the level of talent that he's going to have to play against, and that type of step up he's going to have to see in that. And it's faster defenders, windows are smaller. It's just going to be a bit of a learning curve. Now you're hoping he's getting that right now in practice and throwing against this Oklahoma defense. The thing I would probably say on my side is that I'm not expecting John Mateer to be a Heisman candidate at the end of the year. I'm hoping he's an average quarterback. It's hard to understand just how low the quarterback position was for Oklahoma last year, that if he were to have a fall from, quote unquote, like a fall from grace, I've shared some stuff from a CFB numbers on Twitter just about where he is in progress against like other quarterbacks at his part of it. And he's like on the cumulative EPA or whatever, because again, we're not a stats thing. He's like where he is in his trend, like twice as good as he should be right now. So if he falls back down to earth, he'll more than likely just fall back down to like the trend line of being an average quarterback, right? So that would be good, right, at that point in time. So I don't think there's going to be that big of an issue for his overall production and OU's chance to have a successful season, either that be 8 wins or 9 wins, right, from that side of it. The thing is more of how is he going to be successful. And I think very much so Alan hits the nail on the head. I don't think you can rush him 150 times and make sure he's your number one. Ben Arbuckle's offenses, if I'm doing this off of memory, I'm pretty sure the quarterback has been the highest rush attempt every single year. I don't think that's how Oklahoma's going to have to play this game. I think you went and got Jaden Ott for a reason. I think you have these other running backs, yet you kept on roster, and which you could have gotten rid of for a reason. I don't think you can rush him 170 times or something like that. I think it has to be like a Baker style where it's 5 yard. Maybe like 5 design carries, and he's got a couple scrambles that are backbreakers or something like that. That's where he needs to go. And something of that nature can unlock OU's offense, because we are putting a lot on him. Obviously, the article's about him and kind of bringing some of his expectations down. He can only do what he can do. If the offensive line isn't working, then he's done. And if the wide receivers can't catch, it's kind of annoying. So there's still other things that around him who have to go. I do believe he'll be someone who can perform within the system well. It's just a matter of fact. Will the system work against, I guess, the 12 individual test that Oklahoma will see this fall?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You're hoping for a mediocre quarterback, and
not mediocre. I'm saying I'm okay.
Average.
I'm not expecting him to be in New York at the end of the year.
Well, sure,
right?
but
I'm expecting him to be.
It's not either or.
Oh, true. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, 2020 Spencer Rattler, the way that he went, and look, 2020 was a weird season, and a lot of what we saw that happened wasn't real. But 2020 Spencer Rattler, he ain't going to New York, and he wasn't really anything special. But he played well enough that he elevated his team at times, not all the time, but at times. Like, he showcased his talent and why he was such a highly recruited quarterback. I'm just curious, is this coming from a place of, we were so bad last year that how dare I try to hope for something better, like much, much better? And so I want to try to be realistic and not get my feelings hurt. Like, is it coming from that?
No, I would say wishing for something much, much better is wishing for an average quarterback. I mean, I'm not saying he's like for sure going to be an average quarterback. I'm just saying to unlock something, all he needs to be is average. He doesn't have to be Superman, which I think a lot of people are saying. They're getting caught up and they're looking at him reacting to the softball videos and they're like, oh, that's Baker Light. And they're kind of dancing around. It's like, he doesn't have to be that guy for Oklahoma to win very well. Brent it seems to have, I won't say de-emphasized because you can't de-emphasize quarterback, but it does seem like it's going to be like an offensive a whole and not necessarily those Heisman point guard quarterback set like in Baker, Kyler, and Jalen, where they did everything, right? Yeah. He's going to be part of an overall system that has to work for Oklahoma to work. I guess he's going to be like a game, bus driver, game manager plus, but I'm not expecting him to be like superstar guy. Because if you look at what people are looking at, like with Clemson's quarterback and Sellers and some of these other quarterbacks where he has technically outperformed them, but they have like NFL traits that he does not possess, that people will give them a little more leeway, and they look at John Mateer and say, hey, that's a pretty good college quarterback right there. And if all Oklahoma has is a pretty good college quarterback, they're going to win a good amount of football games in the fall.
I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying there, but it does pose a good, and I'm not saying that you're asking this question because I am, but like it does pose a good question that I think we've touched on a handful of times, but maybe we've never like discussed it as a podcast, debated it. I'm worried that there is a large portion of the fan base that feels like and again, I'm not saying that you believe this, Peyton, that an average quarterback will equate to 8-4, 9-3. Like that, and if Jackson Arnold was just average, whereas he was awful, let's just say that Jackson Arnold is what we saw last year, an awful quarterback, and we're not going to see him improve at Auburn whatsoever. If he was just simply average, OU would have went 8-4 or something like that. I will disagree. You'd have a really good chance of beating Tennessee the way that the defense played and set them up to succeed. Tennessee would have had to have thrown the ball more, which opens the door for our Mason Thomas to feast and get to the quarterback. But it also, I mean, the secondary got burned 3 or 4 times that day and was showing no signs of figuring it out. So you have a good chance, but it doesn't guarantee a win if you have an average quarterback there. Texas is a loss. Maybe it doesn't snowball like it did in the late second, early third quarter, but you still lose. Ole Miss, if they sleptwalked the whole game, we could have won that game with shitty Jackson Arnold, and damn near did. But they woke up and they were much better than we were. So an average quarterback is not winning that game. I think you only beat Missouri with an average quarterback. And if you want to get really deep into it, if we had an average quarterback, they wouldn't have totally changed their offense to attack Alabama, and maybe we lose to Alabama with a more straight-up approach, because just veering them to death with Xavier Robinson and Jackson Arnold on the ground, they were obviously not very ready for it, and you don't beat LSU. So
I want to jump in here because I think what you're doing is you're picking a needle out of a haystack and saying this is the issue. Putting John Mateer on last year's team, you still win 6 games because he didn't have offensive line, he didn't have running backs, and he didn't have wide receivers. John Mateer being an average quarterback with an improved offensive line and improved wide receiver core, and with a playmaker in the backfield alongside him, is what gets you 8 to 9 wins, not just him by himself.
Is John Mateer going to fumble 15 times though?
That's also another thing. I mean, I think you can't pull that thread that way and remove the context of the O-line being that bad. Now, what you could say is, and what I'm thinking is, if John Mateer is a perfectly average quarterback, right, and Brent doesn't get 8 to 9 wins, then the decision has been made for you to a certain degree.
Well, that's what I'm trying to ask, is because I believe that there are some OU fans out there that truly think that an average quarterback is what separates us from going 8-4 last year, even with the O-line problems, even with all the injuries. Suddenly all that shit wouldn't matter if we just had an average quarterback, because that's what John Mateer is. Because your average casual fan doesn't care about, the development of the individual offensive line players. They just assume that I'm an OU fan, we're always going to have great skill position players. They probably know about Jade Knott coming from Cal because he was a big-time college player, and it was a big-time. Yeah, the awesome song, the Calgorithm. And OU fans those casual OU fans probably just assume, well, Deion Burks was just hurt last year, so if he's healthy, watch out, Biletnikoff. That's where a lot of them are probably coming from. And it is... like, this is the one time where I'll try to pretend like we have some kind of authority, because people do listen to us, and the people that are listening to us do not need us to remind them of this. But OU's problems were way more than just having a bad quarterback. And John Mateer checks one box of the many boxes that must be checked. Everything as simple as I actually want them against Michigan to purposefully have a drive where they start off with a false start, because I want to see them fucking pick up a first down after if they do that, I'll be like, oh, thank God. Thank God. It's like I don't have to immediately doom this offense, because they can finally do something that most teams are able to do with the talent that we have. So, you're right. There were a lot more problems than just the quarterback, but in a weird way, because we went into last year, guys, going essentially if they go 8-4, that's good. And it's going to be one of the few times where 8-4 at OU is applauded. And it damn sure would have been applauded with that schedule. But kind of a part of that 8-4 prediction and the applauding of it ahead of time was with the understanding that, okay, well, that leads to 10 wins the following year, or 11, a playoff run the following. You take your lumps, you go 8-4, you hang your head a little bit, but then you remember hey, there's going to be a lot of good things to come. So if this team truly just goes 8-4, Alan, and Peyton, please jump in again if there's other things you want to mention. But Alan, if this team does go 8-4, I mean, you're basically hoping that John Mateer plays well, but not well enough to garner NFL hype, because you want him to come back. Because OU going 8-4 last year with a somewhat good Jackson Arnold in that scenario, he's going to come back and be better in year 2. If John Mateer is really good and we only go 8-4, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's just, you're hoping to find another quarterback. You're hoping that Michael Hawkins can take a leap. You're hoping to find somebody through the portal. So all this is just kind of to ask, to what end is this improvement and this going all in on Jackson Arnold, going all in on John Mateer, and Brent Venables unprompted just gushing about him to Stoya down at the Destin meetings?
Well, I don't see John Mateer as the kind of quarterback who will be going pro after this season either way. That's just me personally. Things can change, obviously. I just don't see him as that kind of guy. I would think he'd need, maybe another year, no matter what. I mean, if John Mateer plays well this season, you can still see quarterbacks who play well with bad receivers. I mean, I recall watching Sam Bradford try to gut out some games during the 2009 season. I think he maybe got like 2 or 3 in. And OU's receiving core was pitiful. And he was still making the right throws. He had putting the ball where it needed to go. But, the guys just weren't there making plays. You can see that, right? So, we'll have a better idea, after having watched him. I guess, I want to see him back next year. And I think that, that would be what, 4 years that he'd be with Arbuckle, I think, at that point. Again,
yes.
That's a big plus, to me. So, I think, if OU goes 8-4 this year and he equips himself well, then maybe you're looking at, a launch point into next season when, maybe the schedule lets up a little bit. You've got some of these younger guys who are going to be maturing, guys like Choice or Elijah Thomas. That's I think that's a pretty nice, way to kind of look at it, a springboard into 2026
Do we know for sure if the schedule's going to let up?
Well,
do we have any
a hard
idea
time
what
imagining it's going to be better than they're going to be tougher than this personally.
Do we have any idea? Because I hear all these models and I never know if they're about like the playoff or like SEC scheduling. And I know Sankey kind of talked about the, did he explicitly talk about the possibility of that 9th conference game? Or was this all just kind of like speculation?
Well, that's tied up in a lot of things, I think, from what I can tell.
Yeah, because in the event that the SEC pods, I think OU schedule's a little bit. It really depends on if they get put in, if A&M is in this pod or not, because A&M just has more talent than Arkansas or Missouri. But if Arkansas and Missouri are in that pod, then OU schedule is going to be a little bit lighter. And you hope that we get like the Kentuckys and the Vanderbilts of the world. But, we haven't played Georgia yet. We haven't gone to the Swamp yet. So easier, quote unquote, but whatever. I don't know. I think it's in, I think Peyton's kind of like changing my mind a little bit because I've been kind of under the impression that John Mateer is going to be pretty damn good. I've not had any notions that he's going to be a Heisman candidate. Like I'm not going to go that far. I need to see it first. But if certain things hit, I think he could have a pathway for that to be somewhat of a possibility at some point in the season. Like after the Texas game 2 years ago, Dylan Gabriel was like the number 1 Heisman candidate following his performance against Texas. And had Jeff Lebby known that, maybe he could have continued that and went to New York at the very least as an Oklahoma Sooner. But, what are you going to do?
Well, didn't John Mateer score I have this. He was like top 3, top 1 touchdown scored last year for quarterbacks.
One.
Once you combine passing and rushing.
Yeah, I think
he's going to be able to. That's the thing. Is like he's going to be able to pile up stats in which you'll look at and go, "Wow."
Yeah.
I don't know if he has the physical attributes to say this dude is popping off the page. That you look behind that, you see this trait. It's like, well, he's throwing the ball 80 yards downfield, or he's got the speed to outrun some SEC cornerbacks. I don't think he has that part of it to kind of like separate and like completely take over a game. I don't know if he has that. He needs to be able to play within himself. And much like what Alan's talking about with bad receiving groups, it's not having a receiver drop a ball or something, which is bad. It's a quarterback not making the throw. Yeah. That's what kills offenses. It's like when you have a 3-and-D guy, but he's on a cold and he won't shoot the 3. He has to shoot the shot because you have to keep the defenses rotating and all that type of stuff. So what was happening a lot last year was that Arnold was too scared to throw, and Hawkins didn't know how to throw the football. Mm-hmm. Even if he's throwing the ball and it's incomplete or something like that, as long as the ball is coming out on time, it's causing defenses to have to actually defend properly. It will give Oklahoma a much better chance to win these games. Now, we can play a bunch of hypotheticals on that. I do think if you put John Mateer on there, you win Missouri, and then Ole Miss and South Carolina just become coin flip games. And I can think you can get yourself to 8. But if all of a sudden now you're passing better, now teams are passing against you, and now they're passing against OU's worst part of their defense. I mean, you can walk your way through of they're only going to win 6 games no matter what, right? I mean, Oklahoma's defense looked really good because teams just ran against a really good rushing defense because teams didn't have to throw. Like that was something that after that Tennessee game, people were like, "Well, it's closer than it should have been." It's like, yeah, because Nico stopped throwing the football. They had guys running downfield.
Yeah, partly because
they didn't need to do it anymore. They parked the bus to a certain degree. Partly
because of OU's defense, because they'd proven that we can get to the quarterback.
They would go get him. Yes.
And Josh, he parked the bus mostly, I think, to save his quarterback from possibly getting hurt. Less like I don't think he was under the impression that if I keep throwing the ball, like we're going to score more points and really like put it on. But I don't want to get any of my players hurt because their defense is actually kind of good if they get, they have coverage. But that's the big question. And
Nico turned it over twice. I mean, that was part of
it. He had 2 turnovers, a strip sack, I think, right?
Yeah.
I think some of it, too, in my mind is that if John Mateer is playing how he played at Washington State and Arbuckle's having to call that style of offense, I believe Oklahoma will be in a worse spot than if they have a functioning offense where they can turn around and hand the ball off or throw a hitch. And you know what I'm saying? If he's having to get him up to 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns. I mean, I don't think that is good for Oklahoma long term if they're trying to do the whole. All we have to do is get a Heisman quarterback and we win. Well, that's what everyone's trying to do.
I look at it more like I think if he's even like a Riley Leonard from last year at Notre Dame, a guy who they can count on, I mean, like Riley Leonard, for example, was a really good in short yardage last year. If you can, use Mateer's legs to make those conversions easier. I mean, go back. I haven't looked at OU's stats on 3rd and 4th down last year in short yards, but I bet they were terrible. So, like, I mean, I think that just stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know. You want part of the thing is more like, Peyton, you made the point about Arnold not even being willing to make throws, right? Like OU's offense was so. I mean, you have to be able to threaten in defenses in different ways. If they don't respect that, you become much easier to defend, right? And that above all, I mean, just the idea too, though, that you can put in your head, like Mateer is a good runner. He can also throw competently. I mean, just doing that, you get some gains in terms of what you can do to the defense or how the defense has to play you and what kind of things you can exploit in that regard. Like just having that makes OU's offense better, in my opinion, than last year. I mean, so like these are very simple things, but we don't really think about like, oh God, we need to have a Heisman Trophy quarterback or whatever. I mean, no, but a guy who doesn't fumble, anytime he's there's contact, a guy who actually, makes defenses respect the possibility that he'll throw it down the field. All that stuff is stuff that was missing from OU's team last year. And I don't want to use that as a baseline, but I mean, at the same time, like our perception right now is way off based on that.
Well, I'll pose you guys a quick question then before we move on to something slightly different, but still John Mateer related. Because we know what's going to happen. Jade Knott is getting 5, 6, 7 yards of carry and looks like every bit the special back that we dreamed about when he committed to OU through the portal. But then DeMarco Murray takes him out. John Mateer has a bum ankle, but he's still playing. And Mr. 3.3 yards per carry, Javante Barnes is the lone back. Do you decide, on a relatively 3rd and 4, do you hope for an RPO quarterback run with John Mateer with a bum ankle, or do you hand it off to Javante Barnes? Because there are going to be times where, DeMarco, what are we fucking doing here?
I guess that depends on what the defense is doing. But, I mean, I hate to be
well,
pedantic,
it comes down to our players better than your players make a play.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I had to get a DeMarco thing in there.
No, I think you want to be able to hand like I mentioned earlier, you want to be the best thing a quarterback can do is every once in a while turn around and hand the ball off. And if that's picking up yards, it makes his job a lot easier. Oklahoma invested in the running back position, even when people seem to be, analytically, whatever. It's not the same anymore. It's wide receivers. It's quarterbacks. They went out and got the best running back on the market and moved with him. So I think that's going to be very helpful for Oklahoma and very helpful for Mateer. The only thing missing. The offense is missing things. The offense is missing an outside wide receiver currently. People are hurt right now, and hopefully they come back. They have a very good slot receiver, and they're missing your third down tight end guy. So the offense is still an incomplete picture, and you're missing an offensive tackle, and people are really hoping a 5-star freshman just walks in and plays to NFL pedigree. So there's still a lot of question marks on this offense. So that's why I'm like, this offense just needs to be top 30, right? I mean, it just needs to show that kind of improvement. I mean, just look at, let me see here. Oklahoma was averaging like 25, 26 first downs on the good years of Brent and for Riley and stuff. And last year they averaged I think they averaged 16. It's just, you have to be able to pick up yards, hold on to the football, convert first downs. Once that can happen, it will go that way. I still don't know if Oklahoma's will be a dynamic offense next year. If you look at, I'm going to try to bring on somebody to talk about John Mateer's passing portfolio. He's very good 0 to 20. After 20 yards, it kind of drops off. He's not a deep ball kind of a thrower. So now, is that a product of not having wide receivers who can get open downfield, not having time, so on and so forth? Or is it a product of having this more West Texas spread run style thing? So, there's going to be some interesting things there of figuring out, does Oklahoma have an offense to take the top off? Or will it just be a move the ball down the field? A lot of plays, a lot of movement that side. That will be something that'll be kind of interesting to see on that side. And I don't think Oklahoma has a playmaker, out wide right now that gives you a lot of hope that that's going to happen. Right? You got Burks in the slot who should be able to split the safeties if there's someone lined up at the X. And right now you just have TBD on some of these other wide receiver spots.
Well, Peyton, how dare you? Emmett Jones can recruit. That's what we're told.
We're hoping so. We're hoping so. But as Alan mentioned in some of our chats, hopefully it's not just a couple wide receivers just running routes, not touching the football, not doing anything whatsoever.
Yuck. It involves John Mateer, but just taking a step back and looking at the entire SEC picture. Another reason why, potentially, in my opinion, why OU sets itself up for potential success this year just kind of comes from the SEC depth of the conference itself. Matt had you look up, because I think this is the graphic I saw yesterday, and it really kind of put it into perspective how, if John Mateer is anywhere near as good as we all hope he is, OU could be sitting rather pretty, and some of the other improvements that are necessary don't even really have to happen extraordinarily well. They can just kind of half-ass happen, but OU could be just blatantly saved by having one of the best quarterbacks in the conference. So what graphic did you pull up?
I pulled up an article from 247, but this is maybe not the same one that you this was Brad Crawford who put this out a little under a month ago. So this may not be the same graphic that you had. This is just the first one that pulled up whenever I said top SEC quarterbacks.
Okay, we'll just list off the rankings because I'm curious.
Okay. Do you want to start from 1 to 16 or 16 to 1?
That is dealer's choice.
Okay, we'll start off at 1 then. Garrett Nussmeier from LSU.
Correct.
I completely agree. I think they're going to be pretty darn good on offense. Number 2, the prince that was promised himself, Arch Manning of Texas.
Okay, table that. Keep going.
Number 3, Lenore Sellers of South Carolina.
Okay.
Number 4, DJ Lagway of Florida.
Okay.
And then number 5, John Mateer of Oklahoma.
Okay. All right. Let's stop there. Right off the bat, guys, well, we've talked about Arch Manning a bunch of times. We don't need to get back into that. That's another Wishcasty list. And if you're getting to number 2 in your conference's quarterback rankings list, and you're already getting to Wishcast territory, and you happen to root for a team that has an experienced quarterback with some question marks in John Mateer, I don't know, guys, but that makes me feel like very optimistic, because yes, Arch Manning could be like amazing and prove everything correct about his recruiting, his development, and everything, and I could look like a gigantic clown. But if you're already getting to Wishcast territory, that just opens the door for if John Mateer could be the number 2 quarterback or the number 3 quarterback, and if he is, that probably means OU's really good, right?
I would think so, yeah. If we're able to say at the end of the year, yeah, John Mateer's the second best quarterback in the conference, that bodes well.
I mean, Peyton, are you a believer in Arch Manning? Because I don't know if, like, you weren't on the podcast where I went on my diatribe about it, I don't think. But I mean, does it seem Wishcasty to you to put Arch that high on a list? I mean, I wouldn't put him at the bottom because, like, he hasn't played a lot. You know, I'm not going to be unrealistic like that. He's gonna look awesome because Sark's his coach and he's surrounded by great talent. But when your QB1 at a place like that with their expectations, you need to be better than just manager. And we've not seen anything of Arch Manning to suggest that he could be anything more than that.
Yeah. No. There's the Arch thing is very interesting, and it's something they're going to find out very quickly. Luckily for I guess all Texas haters, they'll get the chance to find out very, very quickly. I think Texas will probably do better in that Ohio State game because, I mean, they have their own issues on that side of it, even while being extremely talented. It's hard to know. I mean, you've got this guy with this pedigree, with this play caller in Sark. It feels like if you flip the coin, it will land up heads up more often than tails. It feels like he's going to be. It just feels like he's going to be. He has a better shot of being good than he does of being bad. And they've played it right. They sat him. They let him mature. They let him go through these things. He's transformed his body. He wasn't pressed into service. Sark wasn't pressured, right? He's not on a hot seat. He has the ability to take his time. I think one of the last times I was on here, we talked about he couldn't even beat out a 7th rounder and yada, yada, yada. It was like, well, Texas had a chance to win a national championship with the 7th rounder guy. So, I mean, they're 2 plays away from beating Ohio State, so on and so forth. They have a shot at it. So he didn't feel like he was pressured to get him going at that point in time. So I think it cuts both ways. I'm going to be very, very wishy-washy about it. I think he will be perfectly good, which will be probably the worst-case scenario for online discourse, right? I think he'll have some games where he looks good, and he'll have some games he looks bad, and everyone will be proven right or wrong every single week. And it will be great for podcasters.
Yeah, what if he's Quinn Ewers 2.0?
He'd be a pretty good quarterback for them then.
Yeah, he can make all the throws. He's got some athleticism to him, but anytime you need your quarterback to make a play, yikes, not the guy you want. He's got some pretty big shoes to fill, even though he's a Manning, because Quinn was a very good college quarterback. He just, he wasn't good enough to bring Texas to the mountaintop like they wanted. But okay, Lenora Sellers, DJ Lagway. Lenora Sellers is very good. I think DJ Lagway is, imagine if DJ Lagway was at Georgia, or if he was at Tennessee, or if he just basically was anywhere in the SEC but Florida. I mean, am I wrong, or am I?
Well, are you saying imagine that is a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I mean, I think Lagway. I'm not going to sit here and say
Georgia
Lagway's,
went to national championship.
Yeah, I think so.
I cannot say, without getting, I guess, hated on, I cannot say that I think Lagway is better than Nussmeier, because Nussmeier has absolutely proven it and is projecting to have a very, very good season and projecting to be potentially the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, or a top 5, top 10 pick in the NFL draft next year. Lagway is still in kind of like potential mode, but from what I've seen, I'm like, that dude is kind of different. I would put him over Lenore Sellers, but this isn't about this particular list. Matt, who are 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10?
Sorry, give me 1 second. I had to unmute. My bad. Number 6 on the list is Diego Pavia of Vanderbilt. Number 7 is Austin Simmons from Ole Miss. Number 8, Taylon Green of Arkansas. Number 9, Jackson Arnold of Auburn. And number 10, Ty Simpson of Alabama.
Okay, guys, this has to like really hammer home. Like, OU should have expectations this year. If that's the class of quarterback that you're going up against, oh my God.
They heard Jackson Arnold at 9.
through the keyhole was possessed by Satan. Good night. Anyway, if that's the class of quarterback you are going up against, knowing full well that, I mean, hell, Drew Pine wasn't anything special, but he outdueled, quote unquote, Jackson Arnold.
I would say Jackson Arnold won that duel because that was a game against 2 teams trying to lose, and Oklahoma pulled it off.
Yeah, they were trying to get Cooper Flagg, and they realized they were playing the wrong sport at the wrong time. Not good. No, like that, this just class of SEC quarterback gives me hope that, like Peyton said, like Jackson Arnold doesn't need to be like amazing or special. He could fall somewhere. I get like if he's anywhere from 3 to 6, OU should be in position to win 8 games. Will they win 8 games with a 3 to 6 quarterback? Obviously, with the 3rd best quarterback, probably, and they potentially could win 9. If they have the 6th best quarterback, they're probably in position to win 8 games. I mean, what was Vanderbilt's record? Did they go 8-4 or 7-6?
I don't think they won 8 games. I don't think it was that high.
Because they almost beat Texas. I think they lost by did they lose by a point or like 3 points or? Yeah, okay. So they were in position to win that game.
Won their bowl game, so I think they were 7-6.
And they should have beaten Missouri. So they have like a quarterback that's in the middle of the SEC, which that means like a pretty damn good player, relative to the entire sport. And they were in position to win 8 games, right, as a Vanderbilt. So when you just kind of break out the list of SEC quarterbacks, Peyton, and you look at what John Mateer is going to be going up against, just from a talent standpoint alone, yes, he's got a lot of questions to answer, like the grind of the SEC, all these things, playing like OU itself as an offense has a lot of questions to ask with the offensive line development and the skill position players. But just from a talent standpoint alone, like John Mateer should be able to just will OU to a few wins that they would otherwise not get if they have a jag at quarterback, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think that's right. I mean, if you just look at, if removing context things, just quarterback driven at that point in time. I mean, you look at John Mateer, and if you follow me on Twitter, I've reshared this. I'm going to reshare it. I mean, you look at where he is on this EPA stuff, and via the curve line of the FBS average of that, Nussmeier is at the average line at where he is in the snaps point. Sellers is at the average, just below the average line of where he is at this point in time. Now they are projecting growth of them to go above that line. Like at Baylor, Sawyer Robertson at Baylor, he's above that line, and people are really excited about that, things of that nature. Drew Aller is right at that line. John Mateer's doubled up above it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if he falls down a little bit, he's just falling in line with people like Garrett and people like Sellers. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. When I'm saying that a perfectly average quarterback, it's still very, very good at that point in time. When it comes to the defenses these teams have to play, they play wildly different schedules. So I think that's going to be the bigger issue. John Mateer is playing, from what I'm seeing, the hardest defensive strength of schedule. Mm-hmm. Him and Arch Manning, which is very funny. They're right next to each other on some of these things I'm looking at. it's just going to be who just navigates it more. And how you navigate that is, can a coach, again, I want to keep bringing it back to Brent. Can a football team beat or come out on top in situational football plays, and trying to figure out what are these 3 to 5 plays that kind of decided the football game. That's the issue Oklahoma has next year. It's not that every single team is giants and they're a little ant. It's that there are going to be a lot of games in which 3 to 5 plays are going to decide that game. That's just a hard way of life. When Oklahoma's winning a lot with Bob and winning a lot with Riley, they had a big buffer. Like they could fuck around for a little bit and still win by 20. Mainly because they had so much talent, and obviously the talent disparity there. You don't have that buffer. You've got to figure out how to win these games and win them due to sheer willpower, I guess, to a certain degree. And I guess, Brady, from your overall sentiment, can John Mateer be that thing where it's like a Baker Mayfield versus Tennessee game, where it's not like a great game for him, but man, he did those 2 things that had to happen for the OU to win that game. Can he do that? I think I would feel comfortable rolling the ball out there and saying, John, win us the game. I don't think Oklahoma had a player like that last year at all. Obviously, they didn't on offense. They had to hope a linebacker made an amazing play to win the football game. So I think just having someone you can hand the ball to and say, we're down 3 or we're up 3, there's 4 minutes left in the game, go win it. You've got somebody there you can at least trust it. You got 2 people there technically. I mean, I think if he can stay healthy, is another guy you can say, let's go win this ball game, get the ball in this guy's hands, and let's go, put the ponies in the barn.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, obviously, if OU goes 8-4 this year, I'll be satisfied because, okay, some honor has been retained. But, I mean, I'll be honest, guys, like I kind of mentioned earlier, I expected them to go 8-4 last year, and then, what happened. And in my mind, Brent Venables, like as our head coach, like where he is in his tenure as the head coach of OU, he doesn't have many more, like, I mean, I like, what's the word? I can't even think of it. What's the golf word where it doesn't count? I've totally Mulligan. Doesn't have that many mulligans left. So if they go 8-4 this year and everyone's like, yay, we finally kind of came back to some level of respect and we're building for the future. I don't know, like, if you can just assume that the future is going to be better. Even with John Mateer potentially coming back for a second year at OU, I mean, like when Bob Stoops would go 8-4, you can kind of expect 10, 11 wins the next year, because that's what his career suggested when he was the head coach at OU. They would have a down year for one reason, injuries, or you lose a bunch of upperclassmen, you have a bunch of new, less experienced players, and they kind of suck that first year, but then they win 10, 11 games, win the Big 12 the next year. Like that was it. We don't have that with Brent. So while I would be excited in the moment for 8-4, Alan, if I kind of take a step back and look at what Brent has done, what he is doing, and what he would project to do in the event they go 8-4, like it kind of like reminds me that this is OU. The schedule was hard, yes, but 8-4 is not to be like praised, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I you're right about that. I guess I really don't know. I mean, I don't think I'd praise. I mean, I guess it would depend on how they played. I mean, are you talking about a bunch of close losses? Are you talking about, I don't know. I mean, when it comes to Brent, I like I've kind of said, I don't really think that there are like these small. I'm not as big on the idea that there are these small moments where games are getting lost, where his decisions are having a huge impact on the game. I mean, I think there's other stuff that's bigger. I mean, I'll say it again: a lot of fumbles last year. A lot. Like, you don't win fumbling that often. Payne was talking about needing to make the 2 or 3 plays that put you over the top. I'd argue that they need to not make 2 or 3 plays that put the other teams over the top. I mean, God, just look at how they played against Missouri. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking at. And you're right. I mean, 8-4 isn't good enough. I agree. I don't know. There's so much that goes into how I evaluate that kind of thing. So we'll just have to see.
I mean, you're right. Like I would be getting too far ahead of myself in that respect. So, I mean, OU winning games would be good no matter what. I guess like a few more topics, guys, before we get out of here. The kickoff times were announced. We don't really need to jump into that too much. Is anybody a little disappointed that Michigan isn't big noon? Because I really wanted Michigan to come play OU in September at 11 o'clock in the morning when it is hot as balls. And they're going to, that was at 6:30 kickoff, so prime time. So obviously great for the fan base. It'll be a great game day experience. Michigan's going to bring tens of thousands of fans, more than likely, to Norman. So it'll be a great time, just like the Tennessee game was last year, where it was just like, obviously it sucked for us on the field, but like that entire day, other than it being 2,000 degrees outside, was really fun to hang out with a lot of Tennessee fans. So I'm kind of expecting the same thing with Michigan, but I don't know, missed opportunity for a potential advantage there.
We cannot, after ripping the guts out of college football and killing the sport because of noon kickoffs, complain that the game is not at noon.
Well, look,
prime time, let's go play them all at night.
Well, look, I guess I will be the only OU fan out there that will kind of be bummed that the Texas game isn't at 11, because I did not.
I think that's an historical difference. I think that game. I think that's an 11 a.m. kick in my mind.
I think. Well, actually, I don't know. I feel like every college football game, like from the 40s, 50s, 60s, I feel like they always, or in the 70s even, they always started at like 1:15. Does anybody
lights in the stadiums?
Yeah, like there were some practical, logistical reasons why.
I think like Michigan has only had lights like what in the last decade?
Not a
or
long
so?
time. Yeah.
I mean, OU had their first night game their first night game I think was like 83 Nebraska or 80. I can't remember, where they like would wheel in like light poles. But I think their first night game with the permanent lighting pole fixtures or whatever was 95 in Colorado.
I was there. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. You were there?
Indeed, I was.
My apologies. No, like I didn't like my 2:30 OU Texas experience. I didn't like it one bit. Part of that is Matt's wife's fault. I'll admit. It just kept, and your co-host, just with the green tea shots.
Oh yeah. That's I usually blame stuff on Erica as well, so that's okay. Yeah. I'm with you. I didn't enjoy mine either.
But again, like I'll just remind everybody, because maybe I was stupid. I was completely stupid. I went to the fair with the same expectation that I have always had, knowing that you're going to have to stand in line and all that shit. What I didn't think about was there's a lot more people at the fair for a 2:30 kickoff that have they're not there for the game. They're just there for the fair. Those people are not at the fair at 8 a.m. when it opens for an 11 a.m. kickoff. So the only people at the fairgrounds for OU Texas when it's at 11 are OU and Texas fans, and everybody just kind of goes where they need to go. And so it's a little bit more manageable. And I just didn't think about that. So maybe if I go again, I'll think about that. But I'll be honest, I don't want to stay at the fair forever just so I can not stand in line for an hour and a half to get into the fucking Cotton Bowl. Like, So maybe I know I'm weird. I'm the only one that's upset about a 2:30 kick, but whatevs. Guys, did anything Brent said, did anything that Brent, said during his SEC meetings sessions with George Stoia, because I think George was the only one that went, anything jump out to you? I kind of mentioned, like, he unprompted brought up John Mateer and gushed about him, and I kind of, read it as like please, John, save my career. And that's why I'm going to bring him up. Like, he's awesome. But Brent is definitely like positive vibes personality. He also mentioned that the Gibsons, Jaden and Giovanni, are on track to being ready by fall camp or game one? Which one did he say?
I think he just said start of the season.
Yeah.
Brent, why are you doing that, man?
And, the season really starts after Texas. Everyone knows that. So,
anything jump out, Alan, that if you read anything from Brent?
No, but I don't trust anything coaches say. So
no,
that doesn't, nothing really jumped out to me.
Lincoln wasn't the next LSU head coach. Why don't you believe that?
That's a fair point.
Goodness. Do you guys have any big takes about the 5+11 model, which I've tried to it just bores me to tears. I'm just like, whenever OU is serious about winning again, I'll care. And as of right now, they're in kind of like a wait and see mode. I don't know if they're serious about winning. I want to believe that they are. But from what we've seen, they're not very serious about it. So the model doesn't mean shit to me. So college football playoff expansion is coming. Yay. And the SEC and the Big Ten are vying for automatic bids. And that makes sense because the SEC is really good. It doesn't really make sense for the Big Ten because you've got Michigan and Ohio State. Congratulations. Do you have anyone else that you would like to brag about? Oh, wait, no, you don't. Okay. So whatever.
Yeah, I think the way it sets up is I actually think the Big 12 did a pretty good job of defending its territory. The way it was going with that 4+4+2+2 model was going to, the SEC and the Big Ten were about to essentially kind of swallow up college football. And with what they're doing now, even if it costs the Big 12 a few spots in the rankings or in the field eventually, I still think it's going to be on balance better for the Big 12, I guess, over the longer term. I guess to a degree they're kind of limiting what the SEC can do, in terms of marketing itself and positioning.
I forgot about the Big 12's existence. Thanks, Alan. Peyton, anything?
Yeah, I think Alan's on the right part of that. The allocated method, I guess it makes sense on someone's talking about European football, how it does it that way, soccer, how it does it that way, different leagues have different, I don't know, because money or something like that. But as long as you're saying this is the same sport, I think you have to do the 5-11. If there's a moment in time where you say this is now a different sport, then I think you go by the automatic bids at that point in time, in which you're saying there's a monetary tiered system or something like that. These teams are spending $100 million. These teams are spending $70 million, something like that, where it's okay, you've spent your way into a different side of it because, for a long time, Texas was just stumbling around in the dark, making a lot of money. They wouldn't be considered on this stuff. So I think you got to go 5-11 for these other teams, like the ACC, other conferences like the ACC and the Big 12. You have to hope you're able to get enough competitive stuff in there. And then maybe you're hoping that through salary cap and revenue sharing, that it's going to have a little more talent equality, I guess, across these teams. And that maybe then you're hoping that these TV partners start maybe leaning onto some of these schedules and say, okay, we need to have the SEC and the Big 12 challenge or something, right? And now all of a sudden there's more crossover data points for these teams that make more sense instead of, because right now the SEC, by playing 8 games and how the playoff committee, calculates strength of schedule, yeah, it's baked in. If they do it purely by counting numbers or whatever, by saying this team has 7 wins, so they're better than that team has. They've got kind of a baked in inherent advantage by not having those extra losses. I don't know, the quality of opponent. I think I wish it were put in there in some sort of rating system. How they do it now, there's zero reason for the SEC to move off from 8 games, unless the SEC gives them $80 billion to do that. It doesn't make any sense. And at the 5-11, they're going to get 5, maybe even 6 teams in. I mean, that's going to be the thing. The ACC, the Big 12, they have to kind of play that way. And honestly, the Big 10 really putting, their spear in the ground and saying, we won't accept this unless SEC goes to 9, really kind of lets you know, too, that they understand how top-heavy that conference is, right? I mean, if Oklahoma does spin it back around, you're looking at, LSU, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma. I mean, you're looking at Ole Miss. I mean, you're looking at 5, 6, 7 teams that could all be right there in a chance to play themselves into it. I mean, if Oklahoma gets to 9-3 with this schedule, that's a playoff team because they would have beaten some of these teams that would have been in front of them, right? Unless they lose like to Illinois State, Kent State, that changes things. But 9-3 probably gets you in at one of those, like the 11 seed, the 12 seed. That's just the difference that college football is right now. I enjoy the idea of having to play your way in. I saw Josh Pate say something like you need to have these automatic things because it's more structured, then it gives games more meaning or something. I guess I could see that as well because then it actually is a playoff system, saying like, you win these games and by doing that. But even still, it's still just like the top 4 rated and ranked or whatever, then someone else is picking those things. So I'm not entirely sure if I'm one way or the other. I talked a whole bunch to say that it'll figure itself out and they'll still play games in the fall.
We sure hope so. Guys, anything else before we get out of here?
No, man, we covered a lot.
Matt, you excited to not sleep for the next week and a half or 2?
Ready, man. Pumped. Thunder in 5.
Oh, boy. All right. Everybody, thank you all so much for listening to Through the Keyhole. Like I said at the beginning, keyholepod.com for Alan's John Mateer article if you'd like to dive into that. Patreon.com/the keyhole if you'd like to help support. Join our little merry band of merry men and women. There's some, I think. I don't know. My mom's definitely on there. Patreon.com/the keyhole for the extra Keyhole stuff, podcast with patrons, coming every Monday. And Peyton, you'll be debuting your summer conditioning series, correct? Tomorrow?
It's something that I did last year. It didn't have a good name for it, but basically I'm just interviewing reporters, bloggers of the teams that Oklahoma will be playing next year on the schedule. We're starting off with Michigan. He was supposed to go last week, but went to Kansas City to do an interview of James Winchester, former OU player, long snapper. He's Choctaw, and then had to go to Pensacola. If you've ever been to Pensacola, had to go up there and look at the casino up there. So I was just kind of got away from me, but it's been scheduled to post tomorrow at on Wednesday. Whenever you're listening to this, Wednesday on the 4th. Go check it out. Listen to Lon talk about from Amazing Brew, talk about the Michigan Wolverines, and he's thinking kind of similar to OU. He's thinking 8-9 wins out of that. He's like, if we just have a functioning offense, we're going to win a lot of games, which is there's some similarities there that I guess I didn't quite put together on that side of it. I was a little more doomier on Michigan as a whole moving forward. Now, obviously, they're fans just like we are, so you're going to look on the good side of it. But yeah, go check that out if you're a Patreon. If not, go subscribe, go check it out.
Like it. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting excited for the Michigan game, which I'm already excited for, but it feels very weird it just feels like too much almost, like, because normally, like in years past, like Michigan would be the only game I would be excited about, sans the Texas game. But now it's like Michigan in addition to all these other helmets and blue bloods, and it's just a different world. But yeah, everybody, thank you so much for listening Through the Keyhole. Looking forward to Peyton's new Patreon podcast series debuting tomorrow. Excited for that, and excited to talk to some patrons over the next few weeks on patreon.com/the keyhole. But until next time, everybody, for Matt Burton, Peyton Guthrie, Alan Kenny, and myself, Brady Trantham, thank you all so much for listening Through the Keyhole. Boomer.
Sooner.